There's a man named James, 34 years old, successful by every measure anyone around him can see. New watch on his wrist, new phone in his pocket. A weekend trip already booked before the last one has ended. And every single time he buys something new, there's about a week, maybe two, where life just feels right. Then it fades, and he's already looking at the next thing. Here's the question this video is actually about. Why does that keep happening? And more importantly, is there a way to stop it? Because what James is living through has a name. It's called hedonic adaptation, and once you understand it, you'll see it operating everywhere in your life. Hedonic adaptation is the psychological phenomenon where people quickly return to a baseline level of happiness following positive or negative life changes with a diminished emotional response over time. The Stoics figured this out roughly 2,000 years before the researchers did, and they built a specific practice to fight it, one that takes about 5 minutes a day and costs absolutely nothing. I'm going to walk you through exactly how it works, why your brain is wired against you on this, and the one exercise that quietly rewires everything. And the last part of this, the actual practice, is the piece almost nobody talks about correctly. So stay with me. Let's start with the treadmill, because that's the right image for what's happening. The hedonic treadmill theory proposes that people continuously return to the same level of happiness no matter what happens to them. You get the promotion, you feel incredible, and then 3 months later, it's just your job again. You buy the car you spent 2 years dreaming about, and within a year, it's just how you get to work. Research on car ownership found that within 5 years after a purchase, around 1/3 of the happiness increase is already dissipated due to hedonic adaptation. 1/3 of the happiness gone, and that's before the decade is out. Nothing broke. Nothing went wrong. You just adapted. And here's the part that makes this feel almost unfair. This isn't a character flaw. It's evolution doing exactly what it was designed to do. Our ancestors couldn't afford to stay permanently satisfied with what they had. A human who was completely content stopped exploring, stopped hunting, stopped solving problems. So the brain evolved to reward novelty and then quickly normalize it, because that kept people moving, kept them alive. The problem is that same wiring is still running in a world that has built an entire economy around it. Modern advertising understands hedonic adaptation perfectly. It rarely sells you a product. It sells you a feeling, identity, belonging, the sense that something is finally complete. And it sells you that feeling right before the purchase, when the anticipation is at its peak. Because that's when dopamine is highest, not after you own it. Before. The wanting feels better than the having, and the industry knows it. So you're not weak for falling into this loop. You're just running on software that was written for a different world. Now, the Stoics looked at this exact problem, not with brain scans, but with sharp observation, and they came to the same conclusion. Marcus Aurelius wrote about receiving things without pride and releasing them without attachment. Seneca spent years writing letters about how happiness built on external things is unstable by design, because every possession can be lost, and every possession eventually becomes ordinary. They weren't being pessimistic, they were being precise. And from that precision, they built a practice. It's called Premeditatio Malorum, the premeditation of evils. The term negative visualization was coined by philosopher William Irvine to describe this Stoic mental exercise, in which you deliberately imagine losing what you currently have. A person, your health, your home, your job, in order to feel gratitude for it. And I want to be clear about what this is and what it isn't, because most people here imagine losing things and immediately think it sounds like a recipe for anxiety. Worrying is automatic, intrusive, and unbounded. It loops without resolution and ends in dread. Negative visualization is chosen, brief and finite, usually 2 to 5 minutes, and it ends in gratitude. The mental act looks similar from the outside, but the structure and the emotional outcome are completely opposite. Here's the simplest way to understand why it works. The first mechanism is hedonic adaptation itself. We adjust to the good things in our lives at frightening speed. The promotion, the new apartment, the relationship, within months, the baseline resets, and we stop noticing them. By briefly imagining their absence, we reset the contrast and the gratitude floods back. This is not a Stoic trick. It is a fact about how human attention works. The Stoics just happened to design a tool that exploits it. Think about your morning coffee. If you've had it every day for years, you probably don't think much about it. It's just there. But spend 30 seconds genuinely imagining that it's gone. Not just unavailable today, but gone for good. And then take your first sip. After picturing your morning coffee being unavailable, the next sip tastes different. That's not a metaphor. That's your brain recalibrating what it has decided to call ordinary. Now here's where it gets interesting, because this is the part of the Stoic framework that most people skip right past. Negative visualization is only one half of the practice. The other half is voluntary discomfort, and this one is even more misunderstood. Seneca would occasionally spend several days living with very little. Simple food, minimal comfort, basic clothing. Not because he was punishing himself, not because he thought luxury was evil. He did it to ask himself one honest question. Is this what I feared? Because most anxiety about losing comfort comes from never having tested whether you could survive without it. The fear lives in the untested space. When you test it, even briefly, even mildly, the fear shrinks. A cold shower instead of a warm one. A walk instead of a drive. A simple meal instead of a restaurant. You're not proving that comfort is bad. You're proving that you don't need it to be okay. And that difference between wanting something and needing it is where freedom actually lives. Remember the mega loop I opened with? The one thing almost nobody talks about correctly when it comes to this practice. We're getting there. Let me bring James back, because this is where his story actually changes. He picks up a copy of Marcus Aurelius from an old bookseller, handed to him almost as a joke, and he tries an experiment. For 30 days, he doesn't buy anything unnecessary, and every morning, before he checks his phone, he spends a few minutes imagining waking up without one thing he loves: his eyesight, his apartment, his ability to walk, his family. He holds that image just long enough to feel it, and then he opens his eyes, and everything is still there. At first, it feels ridiculous. By the end of the first week, his morning coffee is genuinely one of the best parts of his day. His old watch, the one he was about to replace, suddenly seems beautiful to him. A dinner with friends that he would have scrolled through before now feels like something worth being present for. Nothing in his life changed. His income is the same. His apartment is the same. His phone is the same. The only thing that changed was his perception of what he already had. His friends start noticing something is different about him. They ask if he got a raise. He says no. They ask what changed. He says, I stopped waiting for new things to make me happy. That sounds simple. It is simple. But here's the thing that makes it actually hard to do. And this is the piece almost nobody talks about correctly. The Stoics understood that appreciation isn't our natural state. We adapt to good fortune, take blessings for granted, and become complacent about what matters most. Negative visualization is an antidote to this hedonic treadmill, a practice that keeps us awake to the extraordinary nature of ordinary existence. The problem is that our culture has built an entire infrastructure designed to keep you in the comparison loop instead. Hedonic adaptation may be a more common phenomenon when dealing with positive events and negativity bias, where people focus more on negative emotions than positive ones, can be an obstacle in raising one's happiness set point. Social media accelerates this dramatically. You're no longer comparing yourself to your neighbors. You're comparing yourself to millions of people, all of them showing you their best moments, their newest purchases, their most polished version of life. The Stoics warned about exactly this, tying your happiness to external circumstances and the opinions of others. They just didn't have an algorithm optimizing for it 24 hours a day. So the practice isn't just a morning exercise, it's a counter-program. And it works because it operates on the same psychological mechanism that advertising uses, contrast, but in reverse. Advertising creates contrast by showing you what you don't have yet. Negative visualization creates contrast by reminding you of what you already have and what it would feel like to lose it. What Seneca was prescribing was not pessimism. It was a systematic inoculation against the shock of loss, and paradoxically, a reliable path to present moment appreciation. There's also a deeper Stoic concept underneath all of this, and it connects everything. The Stoics called it the dichotomy of control. The idea is straightforward. Some things are in your control. Your choices, your reactions, your character. And some things aren't. Markets, trends, other people's opinions, what the next model of anything looks like. Most modern anxiety is the result of spending enormous mental energy on the second category. Negative visualization quietly trains you to stop doing that. When you practice imagining loss regularly, you stop being surprised by impermanence. You stop needing things to stay the same in order to feel okay. And that's not resignation. That's the Stoic concept of amor fati, loving your life as it actually is, rather than constantly negotiating with it for a better version. The Stoics also had a question they returned to constantly, one that modern culture almost never asks. What is enough? Not in a scarcity mindset way, in a clarity way. Because when you know what enough feels like, when you've genuinely experienced that your current life, looked at with fresh eyes, is already rich, the treadmill loses its grip. You can still enjoy new things. You can still want things. You just stop needing them to feel complete. Here's the honest summary of everything this comes down to. Practiced briefly and daily, negative visualization counteracts hedonic adaptation, the brain's habit of taking everything for granted. Done right, it builds calm, perspective, and emotional resilience without dwelling on fear. 5 minutes a day is enough to feel a real shift in how you respond to your life. You don't need to become a philosopher. You don't need to sell your belongings. You just need to spend a few minutes each morning imagining that the things you love are gone, and then notice that they're not. James didn't become poorer. He buys less, he worries less, he appreciates more. And the watch he was about to replace? Still on his wrist, still beautiful. The fastest way to feel rich is not to own more, it's to need less. And the fastest way to need less is to genuinely understand what you already have. If this way of thinking about happiness is something you want to go deeper on, there's a video on this channel about the Stoic philosophy of Marcus Aurelius that picks up almost exactly where this one leaves off. How he ran an empire while staying mentally free from it. Drop a comment below and tell me, what's one thing in your life right now that you think you've stopped appreciating? I read every single one. And if this video gave you something worth keeping, subscribing takes 2 seconds, and it means the next one finds you automatically. The Stoics spent their entire lives asking one question: what does it actually take to be content? 2,000 years later, the answer is still the same: less than you think, and more than you're currently noticing.